Hello, it's Ruby, and in this video I'm going to be trying some Victorian Christmas recipes. Christmas, as we know, is thought of as being a Victorian invention, largely from Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol. And because Christmas as a holiday is so formed around nostalgia and the old Christmas and traditions that we did when we were young, we tap into our own nostalgia at Christmas time with our own traditions, but also a cultural nostalgia as we repeat traditions that have been done year on year for centuries. So I thought it'd be fun to continue some of those traditions and try some recipes that I haven't tried before. The first one, the one I'm most excited for, is marzipan. I have made marzipan before, but I didn't follow Mrs. Beeton's recipe before. Mrs. Beeton wrote the most famous cookbook of the period, and it was republished again and again because it was just that popular. Now, she has a few different marzipan recipes. I was looking at it on the Internet Archive, and I'm going to be trying the German marzipan, and that is because the normal marzipan has egg whites in it, whereas the German marzipan is vegan, so I thought I would try that one. 1 pound of almonds, 3/4 pound of caster sugar, 1/2 pound of sifted icing sugar, and 1/4 gill of orange flower water. Slight problem in that I don't actually have any caster sugar, so I'm going to have to go out and get some. I've returned with caster sugar for my marzipan and also some nuts, because of course in the Victorian period nuts would only really be eaten at Christmas. This is because nuts are very expensive. They still are very expensive. In the early Victorian period especially, Christmas presents were usually in the form of food, so the material gifts of Christmas were food related and consisted of the very extravagant Christmas dinner. And that would be where you ate foods that you wouldn't usually eat during the rest of the year. Of course I'm cheating because they would have ground these themselves. 1 pound is this little one here, which is about 450 grams. That is quite a lot of almonds, so I'm going to half the recipe. There we go. Now I need to use 1/4 gill of orange water. I couldn't find this, and so I'm going to use rose instead because it's also a floral essence, and I believe that marzipan is sometimes made with rose. A gill also, if you're interested, is a unit of measuring spirits, and 1/4 gill is approximately 2.5 tablespoons, but I'm halving it, so I'm going to do for one rose there, dash. This is so strong as well. And then we're going to mix that to a cake. I think because I haven't ground these myself, I might have to add a little bit more and maybe some oil. I also added some almond essence because that has an oil base, and then added the caster sugar. The next instruction is to put the caster sugar and pounded almonds into a salt stew pan made in a tin of boiling water and stir until the preparation, when touched, does not stick to the fingers. I was trying to look, I'm quite confused as to what a stew pan is, but I'm going to cook this as I did before when I made stewed puddings, where you put the bowl, or like an oven-safe bowl, in the water. I don't know if this is right. I've put a steamer underneath so that there is space for the steam to escape. So I'm waiting for peaks to form. I can smell the rose. It really, really smells like rose. I can feel it evaporating. It's funny, I think the steam is letting it clump together. And I think maybe that's why it needed the water underneath, but I'm not sure. I can see why this works. I don't know, it's making more sense. It's starting to come together and kind of form like something a little bit more clumpy. When I touch it, it shouldn't stick. I forgot how fun it is to do Victorian recipes as well. It feels like you're excavating when you do one. I'm so excited to try this. I can definitely feel it coming together, so let's... It's mainly the sugar which is sticking, not the almond. I'm not sure if you can see, but it's really steaming. This is what it's looking like. You can see that it's so much firmer than it was. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is turn it onto a slab and then work in the marzipan with a spatula until it's cool. And so I'm going to do it onto the counter, which should be fine. it's only half a pound of icing sugar. So a quarter. Sift in the icing sugar. Oh, it feels so unnecessary to do it on the slab, and you could just do it in the bowl. Okay, this is where I make a real mess. But the recipe says slab, so maybe I'll do half at a time. Oh, this feels so wrong. Like, so wrong. Now, this is where I realised that I really had done this recipe incorrectly, because marzipan is not meant to be this dry, but still I persisted and added some food colouring. See, the slab feels unnecessary, and also it's not really firm enough. I think it needs some water. Okay, I've added some water. I actually added a lot of water until it made a sort of paste like normal marzipan. I must say, I don't know what I was expecting from this recipe, but it wasn't this. These are my finished pieces of colourful marzipan. The blue looks pretty good. The red is like a pinkish colour, but the colour hasn't managed to go through. That was meant to be orange. The green is even worse. It just looks like a ball of mould. And then the purple is kind of okay. Now, the second thing I'm going to make is raisins, which of course requires grapes. Raisins were a very popular Christmas food. We see them mentioned in A Christmas Carol, for example, and I've always wanted to try making them. It's very easy. You just need to basically dehydrate them. So let's give it a go. We are going to take the grapes and set them out. I'm now going to pop these in the lowest temperature oven, which for us is this one. Is it? Or is that the hottest? Oh, And now we wait. I'm interested to see if this is going to work. It's much, much later, and I'm going to check on the grapes to see if they've turned into raisins. They are definitely shriveling. Okay, it's like 11:30. I'll take them out. And they do look like raisins too.
Giant raisins?
Massive raisins.
Are you allowed to eat them while they're hot? Boiling hot?
You'd be surprised. Because that's what it is.
Much better than a normal raisin.
Wow.
Ooh.
That's the best raisin I've ever had. So the final recipe I'm going to be trying is for a pumpkin pudding. And this one just really intrigued me because I love pumpkin. I was going to make a pumpkin pie. There was a pumpkin pie recipe and a pumpkin pudding recipe that I found, but our oven is broken, so I can't bake anything. So this is completely done on the hob. Okay, so it says, take 1 pint of pumpkin, which has been stewed and then pressed through a colander. I do have pureed pumpkin though, so I'm going to cheat and just use this. This is a 425 gram can, and according to Google, that is the same as 1 pint. This is also our last can of pumpkin. Half a pint of milk. Actually, I'm going to use an Emma Bridgewater mug. These are half-pint mugs, so I'm going to use one of these. Almond milk is the most traditional plant milk as well. There are recipes for almond milks in Victorian recipe books and even in 17th century recipe books. And 1/4 pound of butter. So I'm going to use the weighing scale like this. 4 ounces, I believe. Add the butter. And then also 1/4 pound of sugar. So I'm making a YouTube video where I'm trying different Victorian Christmas recipes. So this is a pumpkin pudding from Mrs. Beaton. So then the next thing on the recipe was 8 eggs, which is a lot. So I'm making 8 chia eggs, and I also drained the aquafaba from 1 can of chickpeas. The recipe calls for 8 eggs. I feel like this is a trend with Victorian cooking where they add so many eggs to everything. So because I'm vegan, I am going to make 8 chia eggs, which means that I've got this much chia in here, which is a lot, 1.5 cups of water because it's 3 tablespoons to every tablespoon for a chia egg. And then I'm going to add a whole cup of water. Oh no. Quick stir, and then I'll leave it to set for a few minutes. And meanwhile, I will just clear all of this up. And then the final step of the recipe is to add my massive chia eggs. Can you believe how much there is? And I'm going to add it into the mixture and then beat it. This is obviously going to be quite chia heavy as a result. Obviously this is going to be quite different than if you used actual eggs because the texture is going to be so different. Hopefully it's nice. Okay, I'm just going to leave the pudding to set and then we will give it a try in maybe like half an hour. Now the final thing left to do is to taste. I've already tried the raisins, as I say, but I have got the marzipan and the pumpkin pudding here. The pumpkin pudding has definitely got very thick. I'm going to try the marzipan first. It's very sweet, but very, very tasty. It'll be very nice with the coffee, I think. The funny thing about this is like the caster sugar didn't fully dissolve and I'm so sure that I did that recipe wrong. Like I know I did that recipe wrong and the fact that it's very crunchy with sugar definitely ascertains that. It's still tasty. The pumpkin pudding, I really don't know if this is going to be nice. Okay, let's give it a go. Okay, that's actually delicious. Wow, that's amazing. Really, really creamy. And the chia seeds actually add some really nice texture to it. Like, I would recommend this. This is delicious. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. It was so much fun to try these new recipes. And I'm really hoping to do more Victorian recipes over the next year. It's one of my goals for 2026. So let me know if there are any specific Victorian videos that you would like to see. But thank you for watching and I hope that you have more than just a productive week.